What I want to show you today is I want to show you how to design this amazing drawer section where users can just open this large drawer and notice when I hover inside a particular name, we have the color changing. We also have the image on the left, as you can see, and then it pans from right to left, and this happens across the board. So I can also click here places, and what you see is there's very nice transitions and interactions on I hover, and it also happens on the trailer part and the downloads, and especially here we have this nice hover effect, and also I can scroll and interact with the website. So I think this is a very interesting bit, and if you're a designer and you want to learn about Framer, or you're just interested about picking up a new skill, I'm gonna show you how to design this amazing navigation section and without writing a single line of code. So let's get this started.
Yes, my name is Joe and this is Framer Dive. Let's get this started.
So here I have my Framer workspace, and I have pretty much some work that I've already done. And just to be clear, I did it because so that it's much easier for us to pick up on the most important parts. So inside here, I have my hero image container, and this hero image container, this is where I have Lucia in JSON, and Lucia in JSON is the picture you can see, and I have this play icon here. And then I also have, so inside the desktop, I have two layers, which is this menu and this hero image container that I've just told you about. So the menu is where we're gonna do all the work, and this is where we're gonna manipulate so that we can have this drawer effect. So inside this menu, I just have my logo on the left and the hamburger icon on the right. And to build this hamburger icon, it's generally you just need to have two frames, and you can stack them on top of each other. And then this hamburger icon has an all-round padding of, currently mine has around 20 padding. So that's pretty much it. And then notice also that the menu is set to space between, and it has a padding of right of 30 and left 30. I'm gonna come to my menu and I'm gonna hold Control Alt K. So hold Control Alt K on your menu, and what happens is you get this pop-up card, and it tells you we want to create a new component, and I'm gonna just name it menu, and I'm gonna create it. The critical part here is I want us to, you might ask, why are we creating this variant? Is because I want you to come to this hamburger icon, and you can see here there's on this right panel there's something called interactions. So remember, we want to have this hamburger menu. Once we click it, there is a form of interaction that happens. So I'm gonna click this plus icon just to add an interaction, and you can see we have a transition and we have a new event. So here we're gonna click a new event. So then on this, so I'm gonna name my event, and I want this to open, just call it open overlay. So generally what I want is when I click this, it's gonna trigger an event called open overlay. And as you can see here, we have a click next to it. So, and that's pretty much it. And now we have a menu. As you can see, it's changed from a normal layer to a component. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this menu, and I'm gonna come here on my right side, and I'm gonna click this overlays. So I'm gonna click an overlay, and then I'm gonna click the fixed overlay, not the relative, because we wanna have an overlay that takes the whole space of our page. So if I click the fixed, what you see, we have a blue border all around this website, and it takes the height of 100 VH. So this is exactly what we want. So this is the settings of the overlay. So anything you want to change or tweak in the overlay, how it, what is a trigger, what is a preset, what are the color of the overlay, is it dismissible or not, enter, exit, z index, everything is here. And so the first thing I want to show you is I want to show you, remember we had created an event called open overlay, and that is why it's appeared here. But in case we have a click event, which is not what we want, let me just show you what will happen so that you can compare between the click and the open overlay, and so that you can have a good idea on what we mean. And then another critical bit is I want you to look at this z index property, and I want you to make sure that the index property has 1. So now what we mean is, as you can see, when we put 1, it has this black color, and this is actually the color that we have on our overlay. As you can see, now we can see as we make changes. So remember, we have this currently show on click, and I want to show you. So since we have the menu here, so if I click anywhere in the menu, you can see the overlay comes. But we want specifically to click this one and not the whole menu. And that is why we need to go back to the overlay, and we need to click, make sure this is open overlay. And then the preset, let's just do, we can add a small preset, which means that how do we want the overlay to appear? We can maybe let it fade in or fade in out or fade out. So I want it to fade in just to give it a small effect. So now if I view my website, you can see I click anywhere on the menu, nothing happened. But now when I click this specific part, we can see we have this nice fading overlay. So that is the first step. The second step is now we need now to add our layers, we need to add our text, we need to add our images inside this overlay, because now, so I can just start by holding F on my keyboard and I can draw anything, you know. This is where you can just draw anything you want. And notice that it goes underneath the overlay. This means that the frame is the child of this overlay, and I can manipulate it the way I want it to be, and this is how it is. So when I click this, we have this nice overlay. So this is what we want to do. But now instead of having this oval shape, we want to have our menu pop up. So I'm just going to get rid of this frame for now, and I had already designed the layers, so just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna grab my layer here, which is this main menu, and it just has an image container, and it's just like 2 layers. So it has 2 main layers. So the main one is the main menu, which is this blue part, and then inside I have the image container on the left and the menu on the right. So I'm just gonna grab the main menu, holding Ctrl+C on my keyboard, and I'm gonna go back into my overlay, and I'm gonna hold Ctrl+V and paste it inside. So now the main menu is a child of the overlay. So anytime we trigger the overlay, we have this nice main menu. So I realized that I made a few mistakes here, and I'm just gonna clean up a bit. So inside here I have an image, but I don't need to have this image, so I'm gonna just delete it. So I only have the image container, and then the main menu has a white color. That's why you see this white background. If we get rid of the color, as you can see, so the image container is white, so we need to get rid of the white. And also the field, which is the main menu, has a white color, so we're just gonna want to get rid of that color for now. And I'm gonna go to this image container, and notice that in our video or in our website, we have something like this blue color, and this is now a critical bit, and I want to show you how we're gonna achieve this. Come to the image container, and I'm just gonna add a style here. So you can see here we have a bunch of styles. You have the opacity, I can put a fill, but what I want is I want to click this plus icon, and I'm gonna add a filter, and I'm gonna add a background blur. And what this does immediately, it blurs our background, And so I'm just gonna up the background a bit, and as you can see, we're having something very similar to our website. So again, I'm just gonna go again to my assets. So I had already created a bunch of components inside here, and I'm just gonna look for the GT logo, and I'm gonna drag it inside here. But now, as you can see, we have something that is really coming up and about. But now notice when we click this, there's something wrong with this drawer, and you might ask, why is it not occupying this space? It's because we need to tweak the width of this. We need to tweak its width so that we have something that stretches all the way to this part. So I'm just gonna go back, and I'm gonna go to my overlay again, and make sure you grab this main menu, and the width has to be, as you can see, it's 1200. I'm gonna set it to a relative 100%, and now I'm also gonna make sure my height is set to viewport so that it occupies the whole height of my viewport. So if I open the drawer now, it should be able to take the whole space of my website. So I want you to spot our menu bar. As you can see, we can still see this hamburger menu, but we need to take it behind. We need to take it behind this overlay, because the overlay has to come on top of everything. So I'm just gonna come to my overlay, and I'm gonna bump up the Z index to allow around like 5. 5 is good. And then now it should look pretty neat. So as you can see, we have it, but now we also need to put the X icon here so that when we click this X icon, it can go back to the original page. So I'm gonna go to my overlay, and again, I'm gonna come to my asset, and here I have my burger icon, menu burger icon. I'm just gonna take it and drag it here, and currently it's positioned relative to these other layers. That's why it's going just beneath this part. But what I want to do is I want it to be somewhere around here. So I'm first gonna change the variant to the X. So I'm gonna make sure it's opened. And then I'm gonna make sure the position type is set to absolute. Now we can drag it around the page. So I think that's pretty neat. Again, we need to come here and do the same, add an event to this layer or button. And to do that, again, we come here to interactions, and I'm just gonna click here, close overlay. So once I click this part, it's gonna close the overlay. So I'm gonna click done. So now as we view the page, if I click this drawer, and as you can see, we have this nice, then when I click X, it just goes out. I'm gonna go back to my layers, and I'm gonna go back to my overlay. And now what we wanna do now is we wanna add this effect where if I hover inside, we have an image coming from right to left. And as you can see, when I hover on every character name, that is exactly what happens. So for us to do that, we need to first come to the main menu, and I'm gonna convert this main menu into a component. So I'm just gonna hold Control Alt Enter. Sorry, I'm gonna hold Control Alt K. That is a shortcut for creating a new component. Control Alt K, and then I'm gonna create, and then I'm just gonna come here to this primary. So as you can see, now we have this primary, and now we are in this component editing environment. So the next thing I'm gonna do, as you can see, currently this variant has the image container and the menu layer. So I'm gonna hold F on my keyboard. Wait, I'm not gonna hold F. I'm gonna come here to my home section, and I'm gonna locate this image that I wanna use first, which is this one. I'm gonna hold Control C, copy the image, okay? And then I'm just gonna go back to this component, which is this one, which is the overlay. main menu, double click it, and then I'm just gonna hold Control V. And as you can see, we've pasted that image inside this. Just it goes now behind or just underneath this menu. So I'm gonna change the positioning type to absolute positioning, and I'm gonna position it to the center of our screen. But again, we also need to change the Z index so that it goes behind our this image menu and the menu. And then since this is a primary, and the primary generally we don't want to see the image, I'm just gonna right click and make sure I hide the image so that we only see this logo here. Then I'm gonna create a new variant, and in this new variant is where I'm gonna now show this image. So I'm gonna click here, show, and now we have the image inside here. And now as you can see, we have the image. So the reason why you can see the image after we've clicked show is because this image container has as you can see, it has this background blur style. So I'm just gonna minimize it to 0. And then now as you can see, we have this nice image. And then I'm gonna go to the GTA logo, and I'm also gonna make sure it's not visible. So now as you can see, we have something. So now we just need to add an effect to our image so that it moves from left to right as we move. So what I want you to do now, and then now what we want to do is come here to the effect and click this plus icon, and I'm gonna click here scroll transform, and then I want it to trigger when the layer is in view. And sorry, it has to be not scroll transform but actually scroll animate. So let's go to scroll animate and make sure the trigger is layer in view, which means our layer is an image. So again, start at the center of the viewport, that is okay. And then I'm just gonna tweak the transition enter exit. So I'm gonna give it an opacity of 1, and then I need to give this some transition value. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna use 10 as my damping and stiffness as 1. So this is a preview. As you can see, this is how the transition will happen. And then we need to go and make sure that we have an offset, and we want to offset it from the right side so that it now starts to pan from this right side and goes inside to 0. So this is perfectly good. So now the next thing is I want to link the hover effect. So when I hover on this name called Jason, we go to variant 2. So you can click this zap icon and you can just connect it to variant 2, and the trigger interaction is when mouse enters. So what happens now, if when the mouse enter here, we're gonna change to variant 2, and we can even preview it and see if it works. So when my mouse enters, you can see we have this nice transition that comes inside our page, and it comes from the right side to the left side. So since, as you can see, what happens here is that it gets to a point where the image stops moving. So we want to make sure the image gets to somewhere like here, okay? And we also want to make sure when we stop hovering, the image goes back to its original position. So the first step is I want to go back to my image, and I want to make sure that it's currently just sorry, I'm just gonna make sure it's only pinned to the left side, and I'm just gonna drag it to this part because eventually I want this to be my final view. So this is why I want it to be negative 360. So the second thing is I'm gonna go to this JSON one and the layer, and I'm gonna add an interaction is new transition. When the mouse leaves, I want it to go to variant 2. Basically, when the mouse leaves here, you go back to variant 2. So when mouse leaves, that is exactly what we want. So we can now view the page. So when I click here JSON, I have this nice transition. When I get out, as you can see, we've achieved what we wanted. So I'd like to challenge you and just tell you to do the same for these other characters. You can do the same. It's pretty much the same job, and it can even help you practice your skills and even make you better designer and brings this to your muscle memory. So I'm gonna go back to my overlay, and I'm gonna double click it again to go back to this part. And I'm gonna click this main variant, which is my primary, and I'm gonna click here new variant, and I'm just gonna come here and drag this new variant 3 to somehow here, so just so it goes below this primary. And then I'm gonna name this the download. Okay, so now this is where we want to put all the information that is in the downloads here. So the good thing is, again, I had already created that part. So I'm just gonna come here to my menu, and as you can see, I have this layer called downloads, and it was currently hidden. So I'm just gonna right click and show it so that you can see what I have. And then I'm gonna come here to text, and I'm gonna hide this because we no longer need it. So what we have here is that we have this download stack, and then we have this part which actually should come below, should come underneath this part. Okay, so now inside here we have this stack, and inside this stack we have the download card, and these cards are actually a component. And let me just show this again. And we have now these cards, and if I double click the card, it takes me now to the component section where we can design the cards individually. And even here, what happened is that I just created a hover type, and then I just changed the colors, and also on this hover variant, I just came and made sure that it had a solid border with a width of 4 and a solid type style. And now we're gonna have this effect. And what happens here is that since this is a component, we can just duplicate it, and we can only need to change the image inside it by changing the image. So we can, for example, pick up a random image here and just put it inside. So that's a good thing about components, and you'll see that it's gonna apply the same effects and the same characteristics. But now let's go back to our page, and I want to show you something else which is very critical, is that if you check this stack, what we have here is, you can see this blue line here. It means that this stack has it kind of overflows, and this stack has a specific property that I'm gonna show you, that it's called let me just show you. So this stack has a property called overflow scroll, and overflow visible overflow scroll. And what it means is that whatever overflows, and sorry, it's actually the download speed is the one which has an overflow scroll. So let me just get this back to overflow hidden. So if you can see this downloads layer that we've just brought in, it has this property called overflow scroll. And what happens here, if we put overflow hidden, you can see we can no longer see the other layers, because we have to increase the size so we can see the other remaining layers. But notice here, we just need to work with a specific height, and we still want to be able to see the content inside it. So to do that, that's why I'm gonna use overflow scroll here, so that we can be able to scroll as we view the other part of the videos. So again, I'm gonna delete this card which is a duplicate of it, and now we have this nice overflow scroll. And then of course inside here I have this menu button. But if I go back to my parent, which is this downloads layer, and I show you like overflow visible, you won't be able to see this button, because this this one is set to overflow visible, but anyway, I hope you get what I mean, is that this part is set to overflow scroll, so we can be able to scroll it. So let me just show you what I mean. So as you can see, we can now be able to scroll around, and yeah, which is pretty interesting. So but now the tricky bit is, how can we make this, how can we style up this overflow scroll? Remember, in our design we have something like this. We have this overflow scroll on the right side. We have this nice subtle fading effect here. As you can see, it just looks quite polished and professional, and ours looks a bit of something just too rigid. So we're gonna try and fix that now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my layer, which is this downloads layer, and I'm gonna change the positioning type to absolute. And what this means is I don't want it to be relative to this top layer and this bottom layer. So I'm gonna make sure it's pinned to the left side, and I'm just gonna use a part on the left side. I'm gonna use 54. I can come to this menu, and as you can see, it has a padding of 54. So again, I can come back to these downloads and make sure it's pinned to 54, and then I'm gonna change the width of this, and I'm gonna give it a relative width. And what happens is that it takes 100%, but that's not exactly what we want. I want it to be somewhere around here. And then again, this is a very critical bit. I want us to have some space between this scroll bar and our videos. So to do that, I'm gonna come here to my downloads, and I'm gonna come here to my padding, and on the right side I'm gonna use 54 padding on the right. Now as you can see, we have something that is coming very clean. So we have just done this 54 here and 54 here pinned to the left side. So the second thing is, I want us to have this effect where you can see that there's kind of like a shadow here, or like a fading color, and we're gonna try and trick our way into this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna insert let me insert an interactive slideshow. I'm gonna drag it inside, and I'm just gonna click this downloads layer that we've just inserted, and I'm gonna hold Control X, and I'm gonna drag it outside here. Paste it here, Control V, and then we're gonna put it there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect this slideshow to this bit, and as you can see, we have a slideshow which is taken, and I'm gonna hold Control X, and I'm gonna copy my slideshow inside here. I'm gonna drag it on top of here, and then I'm gonna make sure my slideshow has a relative width of 100%, and then I'm gonna make sure the height is set to 594. So now as you can see, we have something coming up. And the second thing is the slideshow is also positioned relatively, so I need to come and change it to absolute, and I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with this downloads part, and I'm just gonna make sure this is pinned to the right, has a width of it's absolute positioned, has a width of 82%, but I'm gonna drag this and make sure it captures this part like that. And as you can see, we have something similar. Then I'm gonna go to my slideshow, and I'm gonna change the direction to top to bottom, and then I'm gonna also make sure that I remove my arrows because I don't need no arrow. I also am gonna make sure that I have a fade, and the fade is the one which is gonna add this nice effect. And then I'm gonna make sure I don't have any dots, and now I think it's looking pretty professional. And so now we can even easily view it, and I want to show you how it looks like. So if I go back to if I view it, as you can see, we have this nice fading effect at the bottom, which I think actually gives it a professional look. So what now we're gonna do is, because this is a download section, I need to come and tweak this part here. So because this is not the people section, I'm just gonna come here to people, and I'm gonna change this variant to non-active, and then I'm gonna change this, since this is a download bit, I'm gonna change it to active. So it means that once we get to this page, this downloads part is the one which is active. And again, I'm gonna come back now to my main primary, and I'm gonna hold this downloads variant. I'm gonna hold L on my keyboard, and then I'm gonna drag it inside here, and I'm gonna say on click, we're gonna switch to this bit. So now when I go to my home page, as you can see, we can test it around. And so when I click here, downloads, we have this amazing effect. So I think it looks pretty good. And then yeah, so as you can see, we can go back. Okay, we need to change something here, so we can be able to go back. So if I click overlay, I right click it, I come and click this people. So make sure that when I click this, when I click it, so L, I go back to my primary. So now when I view it again, let me show you. So so let me show you when I click these people, it's this one works well. But again, as you can see, we have some space on top of this, so we need to fix it. And but as you can see, when I click downloads, it comes really nice, and when I click people, we go back to our original state. So let me just fix this bit here, and there's just a bit of an adjustment of the height of the image. So I'm gonna right click this, and I'm gonna go directly to this image here, which is the image which is this image layer, and I'm gonna make sure that it's pinned to the top. Make sure it's pinned to the top and put 0 there, so that it's actually, make sure the image is pinned to the top and bottom, so that it can adjust with the height of the screen. So when I view my website, as you can see now, if I click JSON, we have this nice pan effect. And also when I click this downloads, we have this nice showcased. And then again, we still have some problem here, because as you can see, this scroll bar is not fully hung in this corner. So perhaps some small tweaks we haven't done correctly. Let's just check it again. So I'm gonna come here and make sure that, okay, we know the problem. We have, make sure this is set to make sure it's pinned to this end part, okay, so that it's always sticking to the end. So now when I view my website, as you can see, when I come here, which looks really nice, so we have this very nice menu bar. Again, when I hover on JSON, we have this idea. Again, I still gave you the assignment to try and do the same for these other names. And also for these downloads, I've already done it for you, but you can see. And so the next thing I want you to try is, if you can try and do the same for these places and trailers, then you're gonna be quite good at your skills. So my assignment to you is try and make also these buttons clickable. And it's the same logic that we used here, is that you want to create another variant, and you want to make sure that variant links to the correct text or content inside it. Luckily, this layer that I had already pasted inside has other variants. So as you can see, I have the city text here. So you just need to come on the city text and click visible, and it's gonna appear here. And do the same in height this this one for the downloads, and you're gonna do the same and create different variants for different pages. So it might sound like a lot of work, but this is something that really separates most people, is that you just need to put in the practice, and eventually you're gonna be on your way to greatness. So I think we've done the heavy lifting, and everything works perfectly good. And as you can see, we have something nice. So again, if you want to remix this file, you can find the remix for free in the description below. And thank you for watching this far. If you've watched till this point, it means you're very serious about your Frima journey or your level of upskilling and capturing new ideas, which is a congratulations from me to you. Good work. So thank you for watching till this end, and I will see you in the next video.